Okay, so I'll record. Alrighty, so got it on that, and then let me go ahead and pull up my chapter 7 lecture. I also tried to extract the book out of the class and see if I could send it to you guys, and they have that thing on lock. I tried 10 different ways to like download it. I was trying to just download the individual chapters to send. It was not working. I said, okay, they really got the security on this thing really good. But then like, can you please let my students in? All right, so anyway. So we looked at chapter 5. I recorded chapter 5, and I'll probably go back and record this one too. This is a long PowerPoint, but it's just, they take forever to get to the actual information. Now, this is one of those chapters that ultimately, I'm sitting at a coffee table. I'm trying not to bang my knee on these sharp edges. This PowerPoint takes forever to get to the point, so I'm going to skip over to it. Now, here's the thing about this particular chapter is really designed to be a hands-on chapter, and we're not on campus yet. So we will probably end up doubling back to some of this when we get to campus and start doing some things. But this is one of those chapters that has procedures in it. So a lot of what we do here in this part of the class while we're still in Zoom is foundational stuff to get you the foundation and the fundamentals, so that when we get on campus and you're doing the actual hands-on and advanced services, you have that background. But this is actually one of those chapters in this particular class that has a lot of hands-on stuff in it. So we're gonna get through the like procedural stuff, but obviously when it comes down to doing the stuff, we have to do that later when we get to campus. So your learning objectives here, as you can see, the learning objectives 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all performing, as I was just mentioning, which we can't do on Zoom, obviously. So we'll really just kind of look at the first 3 in terms of this lecture environment. So understanding the importance of the services, demonstrating a thorough client consultation, and discussing the importance of aftercare, and really educating the client on aftercare. I don't know what's going on, but I have been having like this itch in my throat. It's been making me cough for the last couple of days. So forgive me in advance if I'm coughing and hacking throughout this particular period of time. Okay. So why do we study eyelash and eyebrow chemical services? Well, they're becoming an important part of the beauty industry, right? So although these can be, their own services, and I'm not going to pull on you too much, Amaris. Jasmine, you did lashes too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not going to pull on you guys too much, but I always welcome your, your feedback on anything that you see or hear, or anything you want to add from your experience. Please don't hesitate. So obviously, estheticians should have a thorough understanding of eyelash and eyebrow services, because eyelash lifting, eyebrow lamination, eyelash tinting, and eyebrow tinting are popular services these days. They have highly visible results, right? So you can see immediately the difference in someone's face when you do these services. And then they have a short span, right? So this is an encouragement for clients to rebook pretty often. My lash lady also does my waxing. So I saw her yesterday to get some waxing done. It was that Saturday. And she thought I was coming for lashes. I'm like, no, you told me I need to take a break from my lashes, because I am once I got started and found something that worked for me, I was pretty regular. With chemical services, these procedures bring additional cautions when it comes to protecting your client's skin and eye health. So you have to learn all the details about that. I'm going to skip a lot of these slides because it's just a lot of in between stuff. So the client consultation obviously is a valuable tool to ensure safety and success. It's the perfect time to clarify your client's desires and needs when it comes to the chemical service they came in for, as well as evaluating contraindications that make the service less effective or more dangerous for them. So this is really, really important. One thing that we have to do across the states is figure out if eyelash lifting, perming, and eyelash tinting falls within our scope of practice. And I think we all know for Georgia that these services fall within the aesthetic scope of practice for Georgia. What's interestingly enough, I think we noted earlier, is that a lot of people are doing these services not as an esthetician. They take a class, and you all tell me what you think. When you took your first class or got interested in it, were the people who taught your class, your eyelash classes, did they talk about scope of practice? Did they talk about the fact that technically in Georgia, it falls under the scope of practice of an esthetician, so technically you should be one. Did you all get any of that feedback when you took your classes?
No.
No. They said the certificate was good and then you could lash just with that.
When did you all find out that technically there is a scope of practice that falls under aesthetics?
Maybe like, I get probably like 2018, 19.
And you have been lashing for how long?
About 1.5, almost going on 2 years.
Yeah. How about you, Amirs?
I think for me, like I have started lashing like pretty recently. And I think I was working at a lash bar. And then I realized that like some of the girls at work, there were estheticians. And then like some of them were trying to do their own thing. And they're like, you need to have a license to be able to like have your own booth and do your own stuff. And then I was like, oh, you have to be an esthetician to actually lash, like technically. So that's kind of why I went to school too, because I was like, I would rather just do it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how many people are teaching classes for services that require a license and they're not mentioning the license to anybody. That's just very interesting to me. So thought I'd bring that up because it happens all the time. So this is a pretty short client chart when it comes to lashing, and I've seen other types of like client cards with their information on it for lashing, and they're usually pretty brief like this one is. So this is an example one. Obviously you guys probably have your own, but this is a way to keep up with the services that they received, when they received them, what products were used, what aftercare products were they sent home with. Okay, contraindications for eyelash and eyebrow chemical services, very, very important to know and pay attention to, because failure to share information about contraindications can result in harming your client. Or that's worst case scenario. Best case scenario, the service is not successful. So it's funny because we're doing this thing out of order based on how the syllabus is. So we did chapters 1, 2, and 8, then 5 and 7. So this is referring to contraindications from chapter 6, which we haven't done yet because that's how our syllabus is lined up. So in the chapter, it will go over a lot of the contraindications, and there's some that are listed later in this PowerPoint too. Let's see. So if we're having any doubt about a client's sensitivity to a chemical, I always see this stuff about patch tests. I do want to ask this question to my lash queens here. How common and practical is, seeing my dress, I'm sorry. How practical and reasonable is it to do a patch test 24 to 48 hours before? First of all, did you guys do the chemical services, or did you just, because I know we talked about extensions in a previous chapter. This one is about eyelash tinting, brow tinting, lamination, and eyelash perming. Did y'all do these services at all?
No, I've never done that.
Okay.
Yeah, me either.
I'm curious to know how reasonable. I hear a lot of people talking about patch tests. So that means having a client come in the day before their appointment or 2 days before their appointment, doing a little patch test with their chemical right behind their ear and seeing if they have a reaction, either checking it the next day or having them check it and call you, or under some other area that's not visible. I know a lot of people are not doing that.
Right, I was taught to do that, but
okay.
She also just said like, but people don't do it, like, but I was taught to do that.
I think in the high-end environments, they probably do it maybe, but in some of our walk-in environments, I just don't see it happening. They do these services at the place where I get my lashes done in my neighborhood, and people walk in off the street and they have the initial, the consultation is at the front desk for 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, they're not doing it. But if you have a doubt, it still makes sense to cover yourself and do it that way. I'm skipping past the activities in the check-in questions because a lot of the activities we really can't do right now anyway. Aftercare, as an esthetician, we talk about aftercare all the time. Every single class that I've taken this year since I've been out of school and licensed, I've never heard that word so much in my whole life. So aftercare is important in everything we do. Never assume clients know how to care for themselves after their services. They should walk away with a full understanding of how to take care of themselves, how long the effect should last, give them multiple opportunities to ask questions, clarify anything you've gone over. Communication is key to having a happy returning customer and making sure they know what to do and take care of themselves. At least give your client your contact information in case of an emergency or mishap. Okay, here we go, finally. Slide 19, we finally get to it. I don't know, I was going through this PowerPoint like, when are we gonna get to it? So here it is. So permanent eyelash lifting, called eyelash perming, involves the use of specially formulated products that keep natural eyelashes curled for long periods of time without the use of eyelash curlers. I don't even know if people use that anymore. Do people use those anymore? You know, I know y'all know what they are. You ever seen those things? They have the shape of the eye and they have a handle and you click them and you, like, you know, they're old school. I don't know if anybody uses those anymore. Hardly ever see them. So eyelash perming pretty much is a chemical service that took the place of an eyelash curler. Permanent eyelash curling makes the eyes appear more open, giving the eyelashes a longer, more youthful look that lasts for several weeks. When the perm lashes fall out and are replaced by naturally straighter lashes, the effect disappears. And during the procedure, the natural lashes are adhered to shields or rods. A lifting solution called a perming solution is then applied to break the bonds of the eyelash hairs and form them to the shield or the rod. And then the solution is capable of causing hairs to stay curled for like 6 to 8 weeks. After the solution is removed, you neutralize it, which stops the perm solution from working, reforms the eyelash hairs and sets them to the shape of the shield or the rod. In this case, the rod is that orange thing there. Post-treatment lotion can be applied to nourish the eyelash hairs. Products should be used according to manufacturer's guidelines. And of course, you know, safety is what we want to keep our minds on, because using these products incorrectly can result in injury, chemical burns, or blindness. I don't know about y'all, but first of all, just getting my extension, and well, extensions weren't really so much of a problem, but just when I used to get my individuals, oh my gosh, I don't know what it is, but that glue is so irritating to my eyes. I cannot imagine doing a eyelash lifting, like something that is considered a perm on that part of my eyes. I just can't even imagine. Have y'all ever had any of these services before? Have you ever had your eyelashes perm? Is this a thing that sisters do, or is this like a white girl thing? I'm just curious.
I think it's more of a white girl thing.
I think it's white girls, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering because on my lash journey, I have not come across, I've seen this, I've heard of it, but I don't see it in action. Like I see extensions and, you know, clusters, people doing, I just don't see it. So I'm just wondering. And I know my eyes are way too sensitive for some mess like this. And then you have to neutralize it and then put some lotion. That's too much. Okay, so ask the client to come in for a 15-minute consultation 24 hours before the appointment. I just don't see that happening in real life a lot in like some of our walk-in joints, because it just is, I don't know, it's a different business model. In this business model, I'm thinking you're in like more of a high-end type of spa where you've had that appointment for a while and this is just part of the entire thing. But that's what they say. Examine the treatment area. If you see redness, swelling, signs of conjunctivitis, flaking, recommend that they see an eye doctor before the service. Clients with glaucoma, sensitivity to perming solutions, thyroid conditions that affect hair growth, not candidates. Clients with recent vision correction surgery should have clearance from their physician or wait until their eyes are returning normal or feeling normal again. Allergic reaction to perming products, perform a patch test. If lashes appear weak or brittle, do not perm them, as more than likely they're going to fall out. Yeah, so failure to follow manufacturer's recommendations can result in ocular damage or blindness. It's so not worth it for either person involved. Consultation is the time to discuss the personalizing of the client's lash lift. The shields and the rods, they're different types of sizes, different levels of curl, from more dramatic to more natural. So this is when you want to discuss that with your client. You want to select shields and rods that work best for their lash length, the shape of their eyes and their eyelids, which we talked about, the eye shape, eye spacing, face shapes in the last chapter. Also look out during the consultation for lashes that may be too short to lift. These clients may be served better by an eyelash extension service. Okay, here are the contraindications. I don't know why they didn't mention it earlier, but the clients with the following conditions should not be lash lifting: pregnancy, anyone who tears excessively, anyone with eye irritations or an eye infection like this one here that looks like conjunctivitis, allergies in the eye, blepharitis. Do y'all know what blepharitis is? The word part blepharo is the word part for eyelid. Itis is the word part for inflammation or infection. So that's basically an infection of the eyelid. You can get blepharitis from like a blocked tear duct and different things. If you get something on there, you can get, and get your eyelid infected. So blepharitis is eyelid infection. Glaucoma, do we know what glaucoma is? I know you've all heard of it, but do you know what it is basically? Glaucoma is a problem with, okay, so the eyeball is, full of like liquid, viscous kind of liquid. So that's why we can touch it and we can push on it, but it has a pressure to it. So glaucoma is a lowering of pressure. There's a certain amount of pressure the eye is supposed to have. And when we do a glaucoma test, if you ever had one, nowadays, you put your face in the little thing there and you open your eye and it blasts some air into your eye. But back in the day, glaucoma tests were horrible. Your eye doctor, I wish I had a pen. There's a pen over there and I'm on the floor, so I ain't gonna be able to get up right now. But back in the day, your provider, I'm gonna use my plug, I'm gonna use the plug to my laptop. He would take like a pen or something like this, and he would go like this. He'd just act like he's gonna hit you in the eye. And he keep doing that until the machine beeps. It was terrible because you're dealing with somebody's hand. So my eye doctor, last time I had this done, I had an old eye doctor who was close to retirement. And he used to scare the hell out of me because he was old. So I thought he was gonna hit my eye, but that's how they used to do it back in the day. They used to actually go like this with their hand with a tool. And then if it beeped, it sensed how much pressure it was or something. So nowadays, when you get a glaucoma test, I guess I'm the only one who knows this because I'm old, and y'all not old enough to have glaucoma tests yet. But you sit your chin on the little holder, and the thing comes up to you, and it just goes into your eye. You're like, what the hell was that? That's a glaucoma test now. It's terrible, but it's basically a pressure issue in your eyeball. So that's what they're testing with that. So if you have glaucoma, you should not do this. Thyroid conditions, which affect hair growth, you should not do that. If you have recent eye surgery, whether it's a medical surgery or like a LASIK, you should not do this. I thought this was interesting. Alopecia, my baby got alopecia. I talk about that all the time. Why? You're perming hair. So if you already have an issue with hair loss anyway, autoimmune, you shouldn't be doing this. Chemotherapy is another thing that systemically, this is poison that people are putting in their body to try to kill off a particular or target a particular cancer cell, but it targets all cells and it makes hair fall out. If you have anything dealing with hair loss, you should not be perming the hair on any parts of your body. And then asthma, and it says because clients with asthma may be sensitive to the odor. So those are your contraindications. We should know them pretty well. Preparation, health, and safety. Advise a client not to wear mascara or eye makeup to the appointment. Who is doing that? Do people really put mascara on to go get their lashes lifted? That would seem really crazy. But if they do, remove the mascara right before perming. Oh, removing the mascara right before perming can irritate the eye. Why? Because usually you need something damp or moist, right? You need something damp or moist to remove mascara. So once you apply anything damp to the skin, you're opening the pores. And then you're going to apply a perming solution to open pores. So if it makes sense, just like why we don't wet our hair before we get a hair perm, right? Contact lenses should also be removed prior to the procedure. Wash and dry hands thoroughly, put on fresh gloves. Place your client in a reclined position on a disinfected table or chair and clean the lashes thoroughly with oil-free makeup remover. Allow them to dry completely. This ensures that the rods adhere to the lids. So troubleshooting, this is what happens if, I guess, oops, went too far. There's two of them here. Let me go back. Okay, so if the lashes aren't adhering to the shields or the rods, which is shown in the slide, if you use too little adhesive, the lashes won't stick. You may also need to apply more glue than typical for stubborn lashes. They need to be clean and free of debris because that could cause interference. And then check and make sure that your product that you're using is not expired. If the lash did not lift, if the lift did not work or the curl did not last. There's multiple reasons that a lifting service does not work properly. You want to check your product again for the expiration date, proper storage. Sometimes it should be stored. Certain products should be stored in the dark. Some products should be stored, whatever, in certain heat or certain temperatures. Using too much adhesive can prevent the lifting solution from penetrating the eyelash hairs. If needed, use the Y comb. We talked about a Y comb last time to remove excess solution. Not enough lifting solution could have been applied, which means that there was not adequate coverage of the lashes. This can happen when it's applied too thinly, not applied to the midsection of the lashes, or when plastic wrap is used and it smears the solution unevenly. So there's a couple of reasons why that won't happen. If the lashes did not have the solution on long enough to process, they didn't have enough time to process. So you want to, again, follow the manufacturer's guide. And then of course, check in with your client on their aftercare routine. Services like this, I know you guys maybe didn't do them, but you probably know more about them than like an average person or me. These are services that I imagine you can't get your lashes wet for like 24 hours or something like that after, right? Yeah, so you got to check with your client. If they call you and say, my lashes fell, they're not curled anymore. And then you ask enough questions, you may find out they went home and hopped in the shower because they were going out that night and didn't take care to not let their, that part of their face get wet. So check in on them on their aftercare. If they're too curled after the service, make a note in the client's chart to use a larger shield or rod at the next service. Overly curled lashes can be relaxed gently by combing them out with a mascara wand and a lifting solution, and then follow with a neutralizing solution. If the lashes are messy or have an odd shape, crossed and messy looking lashes occur when the lashes are not properly straightened or the shields and rods. Let me see, I went too far. When their lashes are not properly straightened on the shields or rods before processing. So if they were clumped together or they weren't, combed out and smooth and evenly laid across the rod, then they're going to come out looking how they were laid on the rod. So if they were clumped up, they may come out curled, clumped up. After adhering lashes to the shields or rods, use the Y comb or eyelash separation tool to straighten and separate the lashes. If finished lashes have an L shape, can't do it. I can't do it with my hand. An L shape instead of a curl, then the shields or rods were placed too far down on the eyelid. So if they're placed too far down, they're going to come up hard on top of that shield and not have a nice curl to them. Ensure proper placement of the shields and rods before adhering the lashes. If lashes are frizzy and damaged, do not allow the lifting solution or the neutralizing solution to over-process. Just like with our hair, sometimes we can process them with perming solutions. Frizzy lashes can also occur if the lifting solution is applied too close to the tips of the lashes, which are more delicate and process quicker. So only apply to the midsection. The midsection is the thickest part of the lash or the thickest part of the hair. Is not on your lash lid, so you're staying away from the skin, and then you're not over damaging the ends. So there's a lot to this. Okay, we're going to skip the group discussions and the activities. Eyebrow lamination. Has anybody had this done? This is just tinting, right?
No, it's kind of like a perm.
Yeah, it's like a perm on your brow hairs, makes them like real straight too.
Do we do this one?
I've had some people that have done it. I haven't, I've seen other people do it, but I haven't like done it myself.
So I have very thin eyebrows, as y'all can see. These women always want to tint my brows because they're like, oh, it's so thin. I like my thin eyebrows. Leave my brows alone. I have had tinting before, but I told y'all my eyebrow waxing disaster story when I did it perfectly the first time, and then second time I went and I was doing the top wax and I put too much on there. So when I put the little strip, it spread it down. And so when I took it off, I had a dip in my so I had to get my brows tinted because I was walking around looking mad for 3 weeks. So that was my experience with tinting. Lamination, I would guess because our hair is thicker, maybe that is something that we dabble with a little bit. I have not had that before. So I'm learning with y'all on the brows and the lashes stuff, because even as an esthetician, I'm not one of the lash queens. So, all right. So eyebrow lamination creates a fuller, fluffy brow by using a chemical solution to groom the brows into a desired shape. All right, so anybody who wants fuller brows that are low maintenance. So clients will no longer need to fill in their brows with makeup afterwards. That's why I thought it was another form of tinting, because I was reading that and I was like, oh, so you don't have to, if you don't have to do all of this and color it in with makeup, that's why I thought that was that. All right, so usually these last 6 to 8 weeks. Let's see, 3-step process. So the lamination is completed using 3 different products in 3 steps. It's usually a kit that you will get that in. Each step is completed and processed, determined by the health of the brow hairs and the texture that they present with, or whatever you get with the client. So step 1 is a lifting solution that leaves the hair in a desired shape, created by the service provider. After the solution processes, it's wiped off and the next solution is applied. So step 2 is neutralizing, which stops the perming solution from working. It holds the hair in the desired shape while the hair is smoothed out. And when this solution is wiped off, step 3 is added, which is a nourishing solution that calms the skin, put the vitamins back into the brow hair. Lamination can be harsh on the brows and the surrounding skin. So make sure that you nourish those brows and let them know what their aftercare is. I guess they picked the right person here with this nose ring and this little bump on her nose, because I would have guessed that this is not the same lady, because her brows look totally different. So I'm starting to understand kind of what that means, because I never had one before. All right, so we have brow lamination. Contraindications, pregnancy as always. Poor pregnant ladies can't get nothing. They can't get nothing done, pregnancy or breastfeeding. And that's why, because those chemicals, even though we neutralize them and get them off the skin as quickly as possible, they're still, our pores still take in certain stuff that we put on topically. So we want to, protect her and her baby. So pregnant ladies and breastfeeding ladies they just can't do a whole lot of stuff. Irritated skin, acne, eczema, sunburn on the brows. We want to stay away from that, because that's going to burn like hell. Alopecia, again, chemicals that affect the nature of hair should not be used on anybody with alopecia, because they're prone to hair falling out. Use of retinols like Accutane or exfoliants using hydroxy acid. So your alpha hydroxy, your beta hydroxy acids. If you're doing that on your skin is compromised, basically. So we know retinols do what to the skin? Do we know what they do?
Mm-hmm.
They thin the skin. So retinols like Accutane, or any retinaldehydes, all of those retinols thin the skin out. So we don't want to put a chemical on thin skin. And alpha and beta hydroxy acids do the same thing. We're using those acids, those are acids that are found in chemical peels. Why are we using those? We're using those to break apart the desmosomes that are holding the skin glue, that's holding skin cells together. We're breaking those apart because we're trying to open up the skin and loosen the skin and get that top layer of skin off. So these are examples of people with compromised skin, basically. And we're doing it intentionally for a reason. So therefore they shouldn't be doing services like this, because we're focused on something else. Very thin or short brows. We shouldn't be messing with those, because they're not going to do a whole lot anyway. Although clients with very thin or short brows may receive it, they may not be able to get the results they're looking for. So if you're looking for fuller, that may not be the way to do it. Aftercare, advise your client to avoid getting their new brows wet for 24 hours. These are most services. Most services, you need to leave them alone for 24 hours and not get them wet. This will result in the lamination not lasting as long and losing the desired shape earlier. Nourishing oil is recommended for daily use. This will maintain the integrity of the hair, keeping the hair soft and hydrated. And advise your client not to sleep directly on their eyebrows for the first night. The hairs are very malleable at this stage. Do you know what that means?
Like sensitive?
They're sensitive.
Like movable?
They're probably sensitive to the touch. What did you say, Maris?
Like movable?
Yep. So
Mm.
if the first 24 hours, they're trying to sit, you're trying to get them to set. You want their shape to set so it'll stay. So if you messing with it in the first 24 hours, like sleeping on your face, you'll wake up and they may be looking different, and then you paid for a whole service and now the next day it's not, because it hasn't taken shape yet or it hasn't set yet. So they're very malleable in the first 24 hours. They can take on an unwanted shape if they're slept on for a long period of time. Take this time to make sure to pre-book your client out 6 weeks. These appointments are easy to forget about if they are not, if the rebooking is not done at the time of service. If you have under-processed your client, depending on their skin reaction, you may be able to reprocess the brows after a certain period of time. Your processing time, as well as how the brow hairs look, is what you need to keep in mind. If they're starting to feel coarse or thick, it's advised to keep processing the hairs. It is not advised to keep processing the hairs because it's a result in damage, breakdown, or chemical burn. Coarse hair from a processing, just like hair on your head, is probably a reaction where it's trying to protect itself. So if you keep processing, you end up having them fall out. Troubleshooting brow laminations. The chemicals used in a brow lamination are quite potent. If something is ever uncomfortable, burning, or stinging, they need to say something. A slight tingle is common, but anything beyond that means the solution needs to be removed immediately. Failure to do so can result in a chemical burn, damage to the hair, discomfort to the client, burning of the skin. To protect the client's skin, apply petroleum jelly before starting the lamination process. So this is the level of a chemical peel. We haven't done a whole lot of it here in this setting yet, but I've been taking a lot of chemical peel classes. And one of the things that we talk about is lining the outside of the lips, the wings of the nose, and the tip of the nose. You line those, you put petroleum jelly on those areas to protect them when you're doing a chemical peel. So if you have to put petroleum jelly around the eyebrows before starting this, just like we would used to, I don't do it anymore, but I mean, I texturize my hair now, but even when I did perms, after a while, I stopped doing the protective thing, which I probably shouldn't have, which is why my edges are thin. But you remember back in the day, we used to put some type of protector around our edges before we permed our hair, right? So this is the same type of thing, because obviously we need to protect the outside skin with something as thick as petroleum jelly or an occlusive like petroleum jelly, then that means it's a pretty strong chemical that we're using here. If the brow hair before doing the service is extremely coarse or thick, then a longer processing time might be necessary. If it's feeling coarse or thick during or after, you can't reprocess or add more time to it at that point. But if they come in with thick or coarse hair, then you may have a longer processing time and may be needed. The thing to remember about clients is they lie. Not in the presentation, but one thing, this is just reminding me a lot of the chemical peel information that I've gotten. They will lie. So you'll tell them, let me know how it's feeling. You know, the last class I took was like, you know, always ask a client on a scale of 1 to 10, and they'll be burning, but they'll tell you it's 3 or 4 because they feel like they need it on for longer. They feel like if they tell you what it really is, that you'll probably panic and take it off. So they lie. So just keep that in mind. You're asking them to communicate and be honest, but clients lie. They lie a lot. So follow the manufacturer's instructions, develop a relationship with them, explain to them, that doesn't mean I'm going to take it off. I just need to know where you are, you know, so you can develop that relationship and they can be more honest with you over time. Let's see. How the hairs are responding. So communication, they can't see, they're not going to be able to see it to the end, right? So let them know, hey, you know what, this is not laying down the way I thought. Your hair was a little thick, so I'm going to leave it on a little bit longer because sometimes coarse thick hair requires a little bit more processing time. Or, you know, your hair was really thick. I thought I might need more processing time, but they are looking really, really straight. So I'm happy with what I see. I'm going to go ahead and start taking it off. You know what I mean? Like, let them know what you're seeing, what your observations are, and what you plan to do accordingly, so that they kind of understand, you know, and they learn how their body reacts to stuff, and you learn how their body reacts to stuff. Okay. Brows on the flip side, brows that appear frizzy rather than full have been over processed. Do not process a second time. It only gets worse. So these brows will likely need to be oiled, conditioned, and allowed to regrow. So every service is not going to be like perfect. Okay, what do we have next? Eyelash tinting. This looks crazy to me. Okay, this just looks bananas to me. Let's put some black lashes on. I'm not doing all of this, y'all. All right, but eyelash tinting, the use of dyes to darken the natural lashes, making them appear longer and thicker. This is great for clients who have light colored lashes. It allows clients to not have to worry about using mascara to darken their lashes for a few weeks. Clients that have enough lashes to darken, keep in mind that clients need to have enough lashes to darken. If they don't have enough lashes, then the tinting is not going to be very effective looking. It uses vegetable dye, semi-permanent dye, or permanent dye. The consistency of tinting products varies. Vegetable dyes are usually fluid. Hair dyes are a thicker cream. The cream consistency provides more thorough coverage. It's easier to apply. Most lash tints are formulated using the same ingredients as hair dyes. That looks crazy to me. I can't say that enough. Contraindications for lash tinting: pregnancy as usual, blepharitis. Now we know what blepharitis is. What is it?
Inflammation of the eyelids.
There you go. Glaucoma is what? Is the issue with what? What's
Some
glaucoma?
eyeball being like covered.
Like your
Huh?
eyeball, like how, like your eyeball, like how,
The key word is pressure.
yeah, the pressure of your eyeball, like,
Pressure of your eyeball. Yep. So these are people who don't have the appropriate amount of pressure in their eyeball. Eye irritations, eye infections, eye allergies, excessive tears, alopecia, and very sparse lashes. So same contraindications as it is for lash lifting or perming, right? Exact same contraindications. So not a new set of contraindications to learn. Aftercare for lash tinting: to ensure your client's lash tint lasts, instruct them to keep their lashes dry for a couple of days, including no washing the eye area or wearing eye makeup during that time. So how likely is it, if you have somebody who's used to beating their face every day, are they going to follow? Or you have to at least understand that there is a chance that they're going to have a hard time following those instructions when they're used to wearing makeup every day. Somebody like me ain't gonna have no problem with that. I don't like wearing makeup anyway, right? But the girls that love to beat their face may have trouble with this, okay? After 48 hours, they should avoid, even after 48 hours, they should avoid swimming due to the chlorine. The chlorine is going to affect the dye. Hot temperatures, especially steam, should be avoided. Clients should avoid sleeping on their face, rubbing their eyes, or using sticky strip lashes that can loosen their eyelashes. Why would you tint your eyelashes and then put a strip on? That doesn't make any sense. But again, these are things that can affect the service. That's crazy. My biggest thing there for me would be rubbing my eyes on my eye rubber. And I am enjoying not having my lashes on right now, so I can rub and scratch my eyelids as much as I want. Because doing it with lashes on is very difficult. So that would probably be my issue. Oil-based products, including cleansers and makeup removers, will cause the tint to fade more quickly. I did get, I told you about my story with the eyebrow. So I did get the tint last year and it was irritating when it went on, but that's because I had just over waxed a little spot right there. So in that spot that was bald, that's where I was feeling the irritation. But I found that the tint just did not last very long. I mean, I could barely wipe my face and I could see a little of the tint coming off every day, which I guess is how it's supposed to be. But it just seems like a whole lot of extra work for something that you can literally rub off if you just keep rubbing it enough. So, but I guess so it's the same concept for tinted lashes. Tint is tint, right? So it's not, it's very semi-permanent, very semi-permanent. Recommend that your client use a makeup remover for tinted lashes. These will provide additional hydration and promote hair growth. Eyelash extension cleansers can be a good oil-free alternative. All right, what else do we have here? And then there's the eyebrow tinting. So this is what I have experienced. I see this a lot. Scrolled by accident. Okay, temporarily color the brow hair. Tints the same as those used with eyelash tinting. Tinted eyebrows allow people with lighter colored hair to have darker brows without having to pencil them in. It's effective for those who have thick enough eyebrow hair. Brow tint should only be applied to eyebrow hairs unless the client asks for their skin to be tinted as well. So this will tint will temporarily stain the skin if applied to it. So I had to get that done because I had a bald spot. So I had to tint my skin, and I think that's why it was irritated in that spot, because I overwaxed or waxed it too hard. Preparation and aftercare is the same for both brow tinting and lash tinting. Contraindications are pretty much the same as well. Pregnancy, you notice pregnancy always tops the list for every contraindication of every service that we do. Irritated skin, acne, eczema, sunburn, alopecia, very thin or short brows. They can get it done, but they may not get the results they desire. And that was the thing about me. I wanted to replace, I just wanted my normal appearance. So of course, a girl that was, so two girls tinted my lash. I got somebody to tint my eyebrow that day in class, right when it happened. But she has very beautifully, naturally thick eyebrows. So she tints the way she used to do it for herself. And she has naturally thick, larger eyebrows. And it just works for her because she had big hair. She was mixed and she had big hair. For me, I have little hair and thin, everything. So when she did my first tint, it was these huge brows. Did not look natural on me at all. Another classmate was doing it professionally. And she was like, who did your brows? Like trying not to hate. She was like, you need to come to my shop. So I went to her shop all the way in Gwinnett and she got me right. So I had to tint my skin in that case. Troubleshooting common eyebrow tinting situations. Eyebrow tint gets on the client's skin. Y'all have to help me. I don't know if y'all did this or what your experience is with eyebrow tinting. I'm sharing my experience with eyebrow tinting. I've only had it that one time. Well, that's not true. I've had it other times for cosmetic reasons, but that one I had to kind of really cover up a problem. So how are you tinting eyebrows and not getting it on the skin? Are they talking about skin outside of the skin under your eyebrows here? That's what I'm wondering. Because when you're tinting brows, you're tinting the skin under your brows. There's no way not to. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Right. Yeah.
I think more so like, because I know sometimes girls be like, oh, like, I'm just tinting your hair. So I'm not sure they got to be really careful and only tint the hair, but I'm pretty sure like you're going to get it on the skin.
I don't see how it's possible because when you're wiping the tint off, they're doing
Right.
like this. Right. So I think this is referring to the skin outside of the brow. Like maybe you've got some tint on other parts of the skin that they didn't intend to. So anyway, it says use a cotton swab to remove the tint before it stains. Petroleum jelly can be used to apply to the skin of the brows before beginning preemptively to protect it from staining. So again, petroleum jelly above and below the brow just to protect it. The tint has stopped working. Check your expiration dates. Make sure you're using the correct ratio of tint color to developer. So that's just learning the process and following the manufacturer's recommendations. Okay, I think that is it. Story moment usually comes before the summary review. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why we have to do, and what's crazy is, technically, according to the syllabus, the chemistry chapter did come before this one, but this is one of the reasons why the chemistry chapter is taught before this one to have a basis for understanding these chemical services. So you notice some services have been more emphasis on contraindications, aftercare, and troubleshooting than the lash services in chapter 6, even though we haven't done chapter 6 yet. Because chemicals can have very strong side effects and unintended complications if they're not handled correctly. So obviously take extra care when preparing for and applying chemical services, perform those patch tests as needed. I know it is not common, but maybe that will make you different, right? After you have a license to protect, see how you can work that into your business model to do those extra things, because that will make you stand apart, because we know, generally speaking, everybody doesn't do it, even though we should. Okay, out of these services, is there anything that you guys think you're going to take on once you get your license and kind of revamp what you're doing? Are y'all interested in these services?
I'm gonna do eyebrow elimination.
I
Okay.
probably lash lifting and
Lash
check.
lifting.
Yeah, because we do have people that come in and ask for it.
Ah, see,
Mhm.
that's to me, that's a key. If you got people asking for a service, that means that there is a need and a desire for it.
Right.
That gives you the reason to check it out. And the thing about this is, other than the fact that classes seem to be very expensive in the lash world, and even though you have to buy certain products, certain products are consumable, so you have to buy them ongoing. Isn't this a relatively low cost set of services? It's
Yeah.
low cost to give these services, but you can charge a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's it. That's chapter 7 in a nutshell. Again, one thing I'm committed to is making sure that I go back through some of these last chapters and record them for you. And I've been slow to do that. But since I'm here live, I wanted to go through chapter 7. But I'm going to try to record as many of these as I can so that when you all finally do get access, you can have those to look at in addition to finally having access to the book and the chapters. So it might make it easier to go back and do it because you might be doubling up because we got to keep moving. Speaking of keeping moving, what is next on the syllabus is, let's see, I can actually share the screen too so y'all can see it. Do y'all have access to your syllabus?
Yes.
Okay. So we went a little bit out of order because I was not, to be honest with you, I told y'all this before, I was not looking at this document. So after we finished anatomy and histology, right, we went into chemistry and electricity. We skipped this because I did not have the lash course in my thing. So I had to get access to that as well. So we ended up going back and we just really talked about 1, 2, and 8 last week because that week was crazy and I was traveling and I didn't get a chance to really teach it. So we did go back through anatomy and physiology and history of careers. Didn't get a chance to spend as much time in eyelash business, which is why I'm going to go back and try to record these for you guys. I did the recording for 5, so you have that. Any questions about chapter 5 before we close? Since you have that, I know everybody by now, I think everybody went back and looked at it. So thank you for that. Instagram for your business is also on the docket for this week, along with 5, 7, and 5 and 7. So we didn't get a chance to really look at that. Looking at the following week, we have infection control, which we actually did already because we did 5, 6, and 7 together. So what would be next for the lash course? And I talked to my friend who teaches the Tuesday, Thursday class. She's like, I'm just staying in lashes and we're just going to finish this book. And I said, it might make sense for us to do as well. So since we already did 5 in advance, what is next up for us would be chapter 4 for the lash class, which is client safety and infection control, which is why it was sitting there with infection control, but we already did infection control. So we might do a review of chapter 5 and foundations, and then go ahead and go into chapter 4. I think it's a good idea to go ahead and finish these chapters. I'm just not happy that y'all don't have access to go ahead and do the work right now. So I will follow up on that again. And then what will be next in the fundamentals book is the treatment room. So that's going to be largely the focus after we get through chapter 4 in the lash course. So probably by next Monday, we'll be on fundamentals, the treatment room, and then we'll finish up Instagram for your business. I know everybody doesn't have that, but we will tackle that. So more than likely, since this is Monday, what we'll do on Wednesday is chapter 4 in the lash course and try to get as much of that done as possible. The only course, the only chapter we have after that is disorders and diseases of the eye area, which is like 2 weeks out, and it goes along with disorders and diseases of the skin. So we will probably get back on track next week and do skin analysis. That's a lot. So Google My Business and Business Essential Managing Your Finance are the 2 chapters that go along with skin analysis, but skin analysis is absolutely going to be the focus of next week. So I will probably save this last chapter, disorders and diseases, to do along with the skin. So we'll probably save that last one. I think that was the last chapter we had to do for the lash course. So that's kind of the plan. We'll go ahead and look at 4 on Wednesday and start looking at Instagram. Next week, since we'll have this chapter 5 and this chapter 4 done, we'll finish up Instagram and we'll focus on the treatment room. So that will be the absolute focus. And then the following week, skin analysis will be the absolute focus. Does that make sense? Some of these fundamental, yeah, some of these fundamental and foundational chapters are very, very important. I'm not saying that the business courses are not, but I want to make sure that your foundations are in order. So that is it. That's all I have for today. Y'all have any questions? The worker did not show up for work, so they had to shut down. Oh my goodness. I gotta call her when we get off. No questions?
No, ma'am.
All right, stop sharing here and stop recording.